So I finish up with her. She asked me, she said, have you ever been to Oregon? I said, yeah, I've been to Oregon. And she said, well, you got a suspended license in Oregon, so you don't qualify for a CDL.
I don't need no one else, build it by myself, bourbon from top shelf, yeah, I don't even know no one, yeah, I ain't got no label or a manager, gotta keep my percentages, gotta keep all my benefits, I don't take no orders, only take orders if it's orders, never no breach, never no CJC, I'm putting up borders, bitch, if you're talking about funds, then I guess I'm a hoarder, now, stakes been high, take a look at my steak been looking like Porterhouse, brand new LLC.
Welcome everyone to Trucking with Old Snapper, and I am Old Snapper. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe, all that good stuff that the YouTubers like to say. I'm currently in Tappan, North Dakota. That highway over there, I'm in a rest area. That highway over there is probably about 50 yards, maybe 60 yards from me. But this GoPro probably will pick up the traffic as it goes by. It picks up noise from a distance really well, and for some reason cars really well. Man, I found a happy tree. You know how you know when a tree's happy? I'm gonna show you how to tell if a tree's happy. When it looks like that. If you got a tree that looks like that, it's smiling on all sides, that's a happy tree. Man, if any of y'all ever come through here, you'll know right where I was at, because I've never seen a tree look like that. Where Old Snapper was parked at. See by the title, my first shot at truck driving school did not go well. It did not go well at all. Man, I was living up in Dallas and I was working in this steel mill. It used to be called Chaparral Steel. And I've told this story before, but it's been a long time. It's been well over a year. I think it's been about a year and a half. And that video is not up anymore. It wasn't a very good video. This one may not be any better, but I'm gonna give it a shot. You know, I was real new to YouTube at the time when I made it. But anyhow, I was working at Chaparral Steel, which I don't believe is called Chaparral Steel anymore. I'm not sure what they call it now, but it's in Midlothian, Texas. I was living over in a little town called Glen Heights, which is actually pretty much Red Oak, Mansfield. It's right up in that area, South Dallas, I guess, right off 35, Bear Creek Road. When you're going up 35, when you cross Bear Creek Road, I lived right there on Bear Creek Road. You jumped off and take it up about 1.5 miles, maybe 2 miles. And there was an RV park up there. I actually lived in an RV park back then. It was a Hi-Ho RV park. I know it's still there because I still know people that live out there. But yeah, I was living out there. I was working in this steel mill as a crane operator, a scrap crane operator. And I worked out there for about 1.5 years. Got laid off. I got laid off in, I want to say it was either January or February of 2005. So I'd always wanted to drive trucks. So I thought, what the heck? You know, I'll try to drive trucks. So I called a number. I applied to Swift. It's the only company I knew about at the time. I didn't know about any other companies. And I saw Swift was always advertising to come get your CDL and they would pay for it. Back in them days, and I don't know how it is now, I've heard it's changed. I heard you have to have your permit now when you go to truck driving school. But back in them days, we didn't even have to have our permit. We could just go in with a regular driver's license, and they would put you through the classes, teach you everything you needed to know, take you down there, get your permit and all that kind of stuff. And even later, when I came into the industry, you know, 2009, that's the way it was. You know, 2008, 2009, right around in there. That's the way it was. I went in with a regular driver's license the second time. Went Stevens Transport. Not sure which one would have been better. I think working wise, actual making money, I think Swift drivers make more money than Stevens drivers. And that's just my own opinion. I know some of you out there might disagree, but judging from the people that I know that work at Swift, I'm not talking about the YouTubers working over there now. I'm talking about company drivers that I know that have been over at Swift. And I used to mess with a girl that worked over there. She made more money than we were making over at Stevens at the time. That's a story for another day. We're not going to get into that right here. Y'all want to hear about my horrible experience, man, how it can go wrong. Well, anyway, before I went to to truck driving school. I changed the address on my driver's license. I got everything legit, right? And I had actually done it in Waxahachie, Texas, is where the driver's license office I went to. I believe it was Waxahachie. That was a long time ago. I think it was Waxahachie where I actually went and changed my driver's license over and made sure everything was straight. Had the girl I was seeing drop me off at the bus station. I caught a bus. I went to San Antonio. I'm not sure, like I said, I'm not sure how much of this has changed, but back in the day, Swift had a school in San Antonio, Texas. And I get down there, they come pick us up in a little van, put us in this little raggedy motel where we paired up with other people. And they paired me up with a pretty cool dude. I don't remember his name, but he was a pretty cool dude, man. And I got really lucky on that aspect. The first the first 5 days of this school was going through these classes. You go through the classes, learning everything you needed to know to get your permit, doing your physical, no driving involved. It was just all that stuff. Filling out paperwork, tons and tons and tons and tons of paperwork. You know, and kind of getting to know some of the other people in class. It was the biggest class I've ever seen. Even to this day in trucking, that was the biggest class I'd ever seen. It was huge. There was probably, oh God, there was probably 40 of us in there or more in this huge classroom. I mean, just rows and rows of us. We filled up this whole motel that they put us in. Wasn't a real great motel either, by the way. Swift, if you're still using that raggedy motel y'all used in 2005, y'all need to step it up, because that place was pretty bad. Go through the whole week. So we're staying in this raggedy motel. We go through the whole week. We're doing this paperwork. It's all, you know, really boring stuff. We're going through these classes, and all week long, it almost felt to me like they were talking to me after the fact. You know what I'm saying? Because all week long, this instructor kept saying, if you have even the slightest clue that something may be in your past might show up when we go down to that driver's license office, you need to leave. You need to go home, get it straight, and then come back. You know, and I thought everything was fine because I just changed the address and stuff on my license. And I thought, no, I'm fine. Everything's good, you know, nothing. And I hadn't been in trouble in a while. I'd already sobered up by this point in my life. I'd already started getting my life together by this point. You know, I've been out of trouble for years. And, you know, now I've been out of trouble for years. But back then, I'd already been out of trouble a few years, you know. Kind of doing things right. Living a clean life, you know. So I wasn't thinking nothing of it. I'm like, I'm good. I ain't worried about it. You know, but all week long, he kept saying that. And he repeated it almost every day, 2 or 3 times a day. So I don't know if he was like he knew and just couldn't tell me, or if that's just what they do. You know, that was just the way he gave the class. Maybe he was used to people getting arrested in the driver's license office, right? Well, come Friday, they put us on this bus, and away we go to truck driving school, or the way we go to the DMV, man. I'll never forget that morning. I was sitting in the back of that bus, and there was a pretty bad accident involving a truck, actually. And some of the guys in class were kind of talking about it. I was kind of kicked back in the seat listening to them and looking out the window, you know. In person, I don't talk a whole lot. I'm pretty quiet, actually, in person. But I'm kind of watching that and kind of thinking about the seriousness of truck driving, right? We get down there to the driver's license office, and I'm not very far back in line, man, but the line goes all the way out the door. You know, there's a ton of us down there. I think a few people already came with their permits, but for the most part, I think most of us didn't have it, if not all of us. But anyway, I'm not very far back in line. I jumped up there because I felt pretty confident about taking the test and stuff, you know? So it becomes my turn. I go inside. There's only one lady working the desk. It's taken forever to get us all in. You know, and I walk up there, and I had this packet, this manila envelope that Swift had given me, and all of us had one. And it was all the paperwork we had filled out that needed to be handed to her when we got up there. This stuff we'd filled out throughout the week. So I hand it to the lady. I hand her my driver's license. She starts doing her thing, right? She's going through the papers, getting them, doing whatever she's doing. And then she tells me, she says, they had that little vision thing up there that you put your forehead on, and then it lights up, and sometimes it's got shapes, sometimes it's got letters, sometimes it's got numbers, whatever. They're all different. But she said, stick your head in there and read line 7. So I did. I stuck my head in there and I read line 7. Thought, all right, no big deal. But I was it kind of hit me off guard, at the same time. It was a little bit weird because we had done a full DOT physical. My vision was good. I did wear glasses at that time. But I thought that was a little strange, but I did it anyway. Well, as soon as I lifted my head up out of that thing, there was a state trooper standing to my left. And I thought, oh shit, man, something done came up. So I look over at him and he's like, oh, don't worry about it. Just finish up with her and then I'll talk to you when you get done. So at that moment, I'm thinking, okay, well, ain't nothing major. They're not slamming me against the wall. They're not shaking me down. So can't be nothing major. So I finish up with her. She asked me, she said, have you ever been to Oregon? I said, yeah, I've been to Oregon. And she said, well, you got a suspended license in Oregon, so you don't qualify for a CDL. Which was really weird because I never applied for an Oregon license. I never had an Oregon license, right? But that's a story for a whole nother thing too. Long story short, I got a traffic ticket in Oregon, and I didn't pay the ticket. I took off, went back to Texas. So Oregon issued me a driver's license and then suspended it. Later on, when I go to take care of that, I actually had to pay the ticket, pay a reinstatement fee on a license that I never got in order to get everything straight. And so if you ever want a license in Oregon, just get a ticket and don't pay it. You'll get one. Anyway, back to the story of what was going on. So I'm thinking maybe that's what he's going to talk to me about, is that stuff up there. I know they're not going to arrest me on no traffic warrant out of Oregon, not all the way down in San Antonio, Texas, right? So he says, come on. We take off. We walk back to the back, go to his little office. He says, look, man, you got a couple warrants. All right. He said, and he doesn't tell me what the warrants are. He just tells me, got a couple warrants. And if I remember right, I had one out of Liberty, which is Montgomery County, Texas. And I had one out of Waxahachie, which really kind of tripped me out because I had just been in the Waxahachie driver's license office and I wasn't arrested, right? And they were old warrants, way back. I think either late 90s, maybe into 2000s, but they were way back. They were old warrants. So he tells me, he says, I'm going to put you in this room over here. I need to call and verify that these warrants are still active because they're so old. And then we'll decide what to do from there. I said, all right. Takes me back there, puts me in this little room. I'm sitting there. It locks. You can't get out of it. It's almost like a cell within the DMV. And it just had a bench along one wall. That's all it was in there. And a drain in the middle. That's all it was there. No bathroom, no nothing. So I'm sitting there, kind of running everything through my mind, You know how it is when you're in trouble. You're going over everything. Your mind's running 120 miles an hour nonstop. Comes back in there, opens up the door, but he's standing in the doorway. Now I know something's wrong because he's got me blocked where I can't get out if anything goes wrong. I got to go through him. And he tells me, he says, all right, they are active. And we're going to have somebody come pick you up and transport you over to the processing center or the city jail, whatever they call it in San Antonio. I'll tell you about that here in a minute. It's all right. That is what it is, right? Well, probably an hour goes by, maybe an hour and a half, and these two marshals show up to pick me up. Well, I'm like, God, all right, well, what the hell are these warrants? Now I'm really wondering, because remember, the cop didn't tell me exactly what the warrants were. He just told me I had 2 warrants. So now I'm really running some stuff through my head, because I'm like, man, well, they sent marshals over here. Normally, marshals come get you when you violate parole, when you go on the run, things like that, And I hadn't been knowingly on the run because I didn't realize I had these warrants. So these 2 marshals come get me, and they're really cool. They're not the normal assholes that you deal with when you're dealing with marshals. But they bring me out, they cuff me up, and it was in the time of the year in Texas, so it must have been like February maybe, because it was in the time of the year in Texas when it's cool in the morning but warm in the afternoon. So I had a jacket with me, right? I had this jacket. So they put the cuffs on me, and then he takes the jacket and he wraps it up around me to where when they walk me out, nobody can see I'm cuffed. And these two marshals, you know, marshals wear regular street clothes. They look just like detectives or whatever when they come get you. They don't look like cops. Not like a uniformed officer. So that was pretty cool. They walked me out. A couple of people that I went to that school with kind of seen me, and you could tell they knew what was up. I mean, my hands are still behind my back. You can tell under my jacket. They take me out there, put me in this little red car, transport me up to this little jail thing. And in San Antonio, it's different. It's weird. Up in Houston, when you go to jail, you're in this big room, and basically there's probably a couple dozen of you in each room, and you're all sleeping on the floor, shoulder to shoulder, basically, waiting for your name to be called as you get processed in. But here in San Antonio, which this was the first and last time I ever went to jail in San Antonio, this is also the last time I was ever arrested. And what's interesting is a while back I had made a few requests, but one of the requests I got back was actually this mugshot. And here's the request that I sent for it. And that's actually the mugshot from this day right here that I'm telling y'all about right now. That's actually where it comes from. It comes from that day in San Antonio. But they bring you in, and they had this big desk in the middle, big square. Made a square in the middle. And they had some bosses up there. And then they had a few bosses that were running around to cages and stuff. They had these cages. And it was cage on top, cage on all four sides with a door, with a cage door. And you started out in one cage, and as you went through the process, you moved from cage to cage, right? So they take me over there. They take my shoes from me. They took my belt from me. I think that was it. But they put me in one of these cages. Cage's almost packed. It's almost full. A little while goes by. They come snatch me up, shackle us down, and they walk us down this long hallway to go see this judge in a little bitty room, this magistrate. This part here is going to trip you out. Our judicial system is screwed. Well, at this point is when I'm going to find out exactly what my charges are. So I'm in the middle of this group. I'm shackled up. There's dude shackled in front of me, dude shackled behind me, kind of in the middle. And she starts with the first guy, reads his charges, tells him what his bail is, yada, yada, yada. And then at that time, the county jail was overfilled. So they were offering people 2% bail in order to kind of clear out not having to put so many people in the county. So they get to the guy in front of me, right? And he had gotten a weapons charge, a drug charge. He was on parole. And she gave him his bond and then offered him a 2% reduction, you know? So I'm thinking at this point, I'm like, hell, man, I ain't got to worry about nothing. Because normally when you're on parole, you can't even get a bond, you know? So the jail must be packed. I'm probably not even going. She gets to me. She says, all right, you got 2 misdemeanor warrants. I'm like, misdemeanor warrants? I'm really thinking I'm going home, man. I ain't even going to see the jail. I'm probably going back to the cage. They can hand me my stuff and I go on to the house. And it turns out they're both hot check warrants. And get this, both of them are under $25. I mean, they're Class B misdemeanor theft by check is what the charge was. 2 of them. One out of Liberty, which was Montgomery County, I believe, and one out of Waxahachie. And they were old. They were really old. She says, but since your warrants are from out of county, we can't offer you bail. We have to hold you. They're wanting to hold you. We're going to hold you until they come get you. They have 10 days to come get you. If they don't come get you in 10 days, then on the 11th day, we'll have to release you. That's the way this works, right? When you got an out of county warrant. So now I'm pissed because I'm going to jail, right? I'm fixing to go back there to a cage. I'm getting transferred to the county. Homeboy over here with the heavy charges, heavy hitter shot caller over here, he's going home, right? Yeah, so I'm like, this is freaking crazy. And that's what happened. He posted bail, he went home. They brought me back with the other guys that were going to the county, and they put us into another cage. And this other cage was everybody that was waiting to get transferred to the Bexar County Jail. And then they bring a van, they back this van up to the door, they open it up, and the van pretty much seals up to the door. Boss man comes and gets you, another boss man shackles you all down, they shackle you all up together, and they load you into the back of this van. It's got benches on both sides. At that point, they transport you over to the county jail, which ain't but a few blocks down the road. And then you start the in processing, you know, fingerprints, that's where this picture was taken at, I believe. All that stuff. And then you get dressed out and you get put wherever they're gonna put you at. But anyhow, that was my first time trying to go to truck driving school. Total fail, epic fail. The moral to this story, for those of y'all that are still here with me, the moral to this story is, when you go in to get your CDL, if you don't have a CDL, this is really important that you listen to this. When you go in to get your CDL, they're gonna run a harder check than they do when they're just doing your driver's license. They can miss things when they're doing your driver's license. They can miss things when you get pulled over, because I've been pulled over before and they not caught certain things. I've also been released from jail with active warrants before. So don't ever count on the fact that you've either been pulled over, released from jail, or changed your driver's license and think that you're perfectly fine. That don't mean anything. When you go in to apply for your CDL and they start doing that check, trust me, anything, if you spit on a sidewalk in 1972 and didn't pay the fine for it, they're gonna know it. So make sure, drivers and future drivers, before you go in and mess with that CDL, try to get your permit, please make sure that everything in your past is straight and squared away. All right, please make sure everything in your past is straight and squared away. They're not gonna miss it with that CDL. I promise you, they're not gonna miss it. I'm living proof of it. Yes, some years went by. I was able to get back into truck driving school and everything worked out. And maybe it was for the best that I didn't go to Swift at that time. Who knows? You know, maybe there was some cosmic reason that I shouldn't have gone there. But please, drivers, I don't want to see any of y'all go through that. It turned into a big old ordeal. And by the way, those 2 hot checks, it cost me about $1,300 because I had to pay fines on the 2 hot checks. Then I had to pay restitution on 2 hot checks. And then they offered me a deferred so that it could get off my record. I did the deferred, and that cost me money there too. I ended up paying like $1,300 and some change on those 2 hot checks by the time it was all said and done, to get all that cleaned up and cleared up. That's what I got for the day. Hope y'all enjoyed the story. Please like, comment, subscribe. That really helps the video. It really helps me out. I appreciate all of you. If you know somebody that's coming up, going to be going to truck driving school, please share the video with them. Please make sure they hear the part where they need to make sure their life is straight, because I don't want to see anybody else go through this. Y'all take care, stay safe. Remember, we are all family out here, even if we are a little bit dysfunctional. And keep trucking.
That's just how it go. I got some secrets, I'm shaking the game so they stay on their toes. Stay in your lane, how to stay on the go. I can play with the pros and act like a rookie, so they overlook me. They not double up or get none of their nose. None of them cold, they just got lucky but never adapted. So I'm to one if it's coming to blows. My enemies cutting it close. I let them think that they got me, but what do you know? I had them beat before we ever spoke. I'm ready for smoke. I need to know everything, who and the what and the where. I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious.